We were on a fire in the Sequoia, and we had already been spiked. Now everything kind of blends together. The older you get and the more fire you go to, the years start kind of blending. But we had been on a fire earlier, and we'd spiked out. I could be wrong. It could have been this was our first one, and then we went and spiked out on another one. But at any rate, we'd been on fire for a while, and we went up, and I think it was about a 300-acre fire, and it was, of course, in steep, nasty terrain like we mostly go to. And we'd been on the fire for a couple days, and we'd been on the top of it, cutting line down, and I'd hiked from the top down, doing some scouting, and the crew ended up going around to the bottom of the fire where they were looking at some pieces to tie into other crews coming down, and a piece of line that I believe we had brought down from the top, and then we were going to try to finish anchoring it in from the bottom. Well, the fire itself wasn't really doing much that I can remember, not at that point in the game. So, we're kind of laid back, and we had worked all day just cutting line, and pretty non-eventful stuff, and mostly going direct. And later that day, they were calling for thunderstorms. They had been calling for thunderstorms for several days prior to that too, but nothing really became of it for us. Well, on this particular day, we were in the bottom, and we had been talking to a homeowner who actually lived in like a little trailer on a piece of property there, and he was telling us through the years how there had been flash floods in that area and taken out the road, and that had happened, I think he said twice since he had lived in that area. And we didn't really think much of it, we just thought, oh, okay, just hearing stories of the locals and not thinking much of it. But later on that day, and it may have even been the next day, because I believe we were in there for a couple of days, but we were driving down to camp, and then back up in that morning. And anyway, there was we were doing our thing, cutting line, and we started hearing people talking about, they're getting rain up on top, and we thought it was away from the fire a little bit. And pretty soon we heard people talking about flash flooding across the road, and things kind of going on. But and the crew had just we had pulled the crew, I guess, off the fire line, and where we were is down by the creek, a little meandering creek, and it was us and another crew down there, so two crews down there. Superintendents were with us, and I was a captain then, and anyway, we're down. The guys are sharpening saws and sharpening their tools, taking care of business, and we had a strike team leader that was from a different agency. I mean, this has a little bit of a bearing on how it kind of transpired. But, he came running down, and he was up there with the landowner. Had like I guess his trailer was like an ice cream truck that he lived in up there. And he comes running down, and he's just waving his arms and screaming, and we're all looking at him. And he was kind of a spaz in the first place, so we thought, oh, what's this guy up to now, And he comes running down, and he's like, it's coming, He's just all these gestures, and we're all just looking at him like, what in the world? He wouldn't come down by us. He's standing up on top of the hill, yelling down at us, and we're like, oh no, he must be at it again. But anyway, we just kind of all looked at each other and kind of laughed, and then just a couple seconds later, comes a homeowner, and he's like, you guys gotta move, it's gonna get you. But it's a flash flood, and we knew right then. It clicked. It was like, and all of a sudden we could hear something coming down the canyon. And I looked up the canyon. I could probably see a quarter mile up the canyon, and I saw a big big, I don't know if it was probably a cottonwood tree or maybe an oak tree, just come down like that. And then I could hear an ominous thud, like crunch, and all I could equate it to is boulders clacking together. And I told my guys, just everybody get in the truck, we're out of here. And they're sharp in there, and they're like, wait a minute, I'm like, just get your shit in the truck, we're out of here. And at that time, everybody else was becoming alarmed. And so anyway, I told my driver, I said, start the truck and just start moving. And we pulled out, we were the first ones up, and there were 4 crew buggies and 2 soup trucks down there. And when I pulled out, I looked, and the wall was only 100 feet, and I'm talking a wall of mud and debris and branches and just crap as high as this building or higher. And it was coming right where we were sitting. Well, when the last truck pulled out, it was the soup from the other crew. He was the last one up, and he said when he was pulling out, he had stuff hitting the back of his truck. So that's how close it was. And after we got out of that, the guys came. We actually got footage of it and that, but it wasn't 20 minutes, a half an hour later, it had subsided. And where we were sitting, there was a trench, probably about 30 feet wide and 20 feet deep, where there used to be a little meandering creek. And of course, the road that went into that area was totally wiped out. What scared me the most and alarmed some of the folks is probably about 10 minutes or maybe 15 minutes before that flood came through, a Type 2 crew had left, and they were heading down to camp, and we were just terrified that they got wiped out. Well, apparently they made it out the mouth right when it started to hit down below, and so they were okay. But when I think of the closest call I've ever had, that's the one. And till this day, when we meet up with the other crew we were at, we always look at each other. We go, okay, if there's any thunderstorms around, we're going to find high ground. But yeah, we use that as like a lessons learned for the crew. You know, you're thinking fire, but boy, when a fire goes through, that's when, you know, if you get any rain on the area, that's when flash floods happen so much quicker. So anyway, it was exciting to say the least.